Here are the answers to congruent triangles 1 worksheet. Hopefully they're the answers. What do you think, guys? How's it looking? Are y'all checking your answers? Which ones can I work? This Vessels class, you can pause this as long as you need to look at the answers. Number 3, 1, 3, and 7. Okay. Anything else? 14. So really notice, I want to point this out. They don't say in the answers, it doesn't say the triangles are congruent by NP. Notice NP is written in both blanks. So a lot of people mess that up on our first quiz. They write triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF by NP. Well, they can't be congruent by NP because NP means it's not possible to prove them congruent. So you would never say they're congruent by NP. You would write NP in both blanks. All right, let's start with number 1. So here are our choices. Side, 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 angle, side, angle, angle, side, or not possible. Those are the choices so far today. Now, we know the times that we can add markings. When we have vertical angles, we can add arcs. When we have a shared side, we can add tick marks. So in this picture, we have vertical angles. So I'm going to add the arc marks right there because of the vertical angle theorem. And then I notice that this is angle, angle, side. Now, when you have 2 angles in one side, when you have 2 angles marked and one side marked, these are your 2 choices. It's either angle, side, angle, or it's angle, angle, side. So you go to the picture and you locate the tick mark. Is the tick mark between the arcs? It's a yes or no question. It either is or it isn't. If it is between, you put ASA. If it's not between, you put AAS. And notice the tick mark is not between the arcs, so we're going to put angle, angle, side. ABC is congruent to, well, if I start with A, it has an arc, I better start with the one that has an arc. E, D, C. Okay? Number 3, we also have vertical angle theorem that the vertical angle theorem allows us to add arcs to our picture. And so, oh my goodness, do we have any sides at all? Because if we don't have a side, we're out of business. So I don't see any tick marks anywhere on the picture at all. No tick marks. So these are not congruent. Even though all 3 angles match, angle, angle, angle is not one of our postulates. It is a false shortcut, is what it's called sometimes. So these are not possible. Not possible. Can we just go and add tick marks somewhere? No. When you add markings to your picture, you have to have a reason, and we don't have a reason to add tick marks. On number 7, there's a lot of reasons that we could add markings to the picture. Shared side, vertical angles. Another one is our alternate interior angles theorem. And that's what's going to come into play on number 7. Now, what students do wrong sometimes is they think that the arrows mean tick marks. They think that those are just the same thing. Arrows mean parallel. 2 lines or segments can be parallel and not be the same length at all. So be careful. Those arrows are not tick marks. But what they are is parallel lines. Let me go ahead and add our tick marks to the shared side. And then these are parallel lines cut by a transversal. Okay, I'm going to give you a huge tip because a lot of times students do not know where to add the arcs. They don't know which side of the transversal to add them on. So when you are in doubt and you do not know where to add your arcs, you need to draw the letter Z with your parallel lines and your transversal. Draw the letter Z. When you draw the letter Z, now it is so much more obvious where the arcs go, or at least I hope it is. You put them in the letter Z, not here. See right there and right here? They don't go where the squigglies are. They go right there inside the letter Z. Okay, so now I've done all that talking. We've got 2 angles. We've got a side. The side's not between the angles, so that's why this one is angle, angle, side. So it's really important that you add those angles in the correct spot because students put them in the wrong spot many times. Now on number 15, there's two pairs of parallel sides. So really, we don't have to draw the Z because all of those alternate interior angles are going to be congruent. So when both pairs of parallel sides are parallel, we don't need to worry about being specific about where those arcs go. Alternate interior angles and alternate interior angles. Shared side. Angle, side, angle. Those parallel markings do not mean congruent. This is not side, side, side. Those do not mean that there's a tick mark. It just means that there are some congruent angles. Okay, so we learned 4 congruence theorems on Friday. In our old textbook, they were called postulates. Now they're called theorems, so pretend that says theorem. One more congruence theorem. So this one is extra special. It only works for right triangles. So make a note of that in your notes that the next one we're going to learn, it only works for right triangles. Don't try to use this on any other triangle, but you won't because you'll hear the name of it and you won't try to use it on any other triangle. Here is your final congruence theorem. It's called hypotenuse-leg. Say that out loud, hypotenuse-leg. This one's kind of the odd one out because it only has 2 letters. All the rest of them had 3 things, side, 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 angle, side, angle. It had 3 things. This one only has 2. Hypotenuse-leg. It only works on right triangles. Have I said that? Now, the thing about this one is that if we had looked at these 2 triangles on Friday, what would we have said? Look at those triangles. We looked at them, pretend it's Friday, go back in time, use your time machine. Okay, it's Friday. What would you have said about those 2 triangles? Yeah, they spell the bad word, right? Angle, and then a side, and then a side. We would have put not possible. Not possible to prove them congruent. Well, there's an exception to every rule, isn't there? There's an exception to that rule. So, when you get triangles that are side, side, angle, and we know that one doesn't work, but, dot, 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 it actually does work, but it only works for right triangles. So, side, side, angle actually works, but it only works for right triangles, and we don't call it side, side, angle, we call it hypotenuse-leg. Okay? I think I gave you enough time. I filled the space, right? I talked enough for you to write the title, draw the picture. Okay? Now, there are 3 things to check for every time. 3 things to check for when you're looking for HL. I'll give you time to write this down in your notes if you want. For 2 triangles to be guilty of being congruent by hypotenuse-leg, you need to have a right angle. Both triangles need to have a right angle. You need to have tick marks on the hypotenuse, or hypotenuses, or hypotenae, I don't know how to say it plural, and you have to have a tick mark on one of the legs. So you need a right angle, you need a hypotenuse, you need a leg. So here's our first check mark. We put check. And then hypotenuse, you have to have tick marks on the hypotenuse, check. And then you need to have tick marks on the leg. It might be a shared leg, it might not be a shared leg. Those are the things you look for hypotenuse-leg. That song we're going to listen to at the end of class. I hope we have time. Okay, this is just a reminder. I showed you this on Friday. Remember, we saw this on Friday. These are the ones that do not work. You never ever write side-side angle as an answer, and you never write AAA as an answer, because we know that those do not prove 2 triangles guilty of being congruent. All right, we're just going to practice. We're just going to practice a whole lot. You ready? Okay. Lots of practicing. The instructions are going to be the same every time, so you don't need to read them. Tell me if they're congruent. If so, tell me why, and then name the congruence statement. So, TJ, you do this one. Are they congruent? If so, say the congruence theorem. Is this our new one, our shiny new theorem? Is it HL? So this one's tricking us a little bit. It almost looks like HL. Let's see if it has everything it needs. They both need to have right angles. Check. They both have to have tick marks on a leg. Check. And they both need tick marks on a hypotenuse. Oh no! This hypotenuse is empty. That hypotenuse does not have a tick mark on it. It's on the wrong side. See how it's on DE? DE is not the hypotenuse. So what do? We write not possible, and we write it in both blanks. It was almost HL, but then it wasn't. Basically, it's side, side, side. No, basically, it's neither of them. Side, angle, side, sorry. No, it's not, because they don't match. So remember what we're doing here. What are all these shortcuts even for? We're trying to prove that these two triangles are identical twins. And they are not twins because the tick marks are not in the same spot on both triangles. All right, next one. So first, we always look at the triangles and we say, could I add something to my picture? Do I have a theorem that allows me to? And the reflexive property allows us to add a tick mark to the shared side. And now we have angle, side, angle. Because we know if this is a right angle, then this one is a right angle as well, because 180 minus 90 is 90. Just because this is a right triangle, does that mean it's automatically HL? No. This one is totally angle, side, angle. ABC is congruent to, let's see, if I went this way, I better go symmetrically the opposite way. ABD. Alrighty, what do we have? Once again, we have reflexive property, shared side right there. We know that we can add this marking as well because of a straight angle, linear pair. And now, if we were looking at this on Friday, it would have spelled the bad word, angle, side, side. But now we're looking at this on Monday. And we have a right angle, we have tick marks on the leg, and we have tick marks on both hypotenuses. So these are guilty of being, oops, I put an H and an L in one. Look how efficient I'm trying to be. These are congruent by HL. ABC, once again, A, B, D. Guilty of being congruent by hypotenuse-leg theorem. Okay, we've got a shared side once again. We always add tick marks because of the reflexive property. It's looking like HL again, right? Yep. So we've got angle, side, side. We're spelling the bad word, but we know there's an exception to the rule, and that exception is called HL. Hypotenuse, leg. Tick marks on the hypotenuse, tick marks on the leg. HL. ABC would be congruent to CDA. Cool. Trucking along. Let's get to some hard ones. Okay, these are a little bit different. I don't think we did any of these on Friday. What additional information do you need to prove each pair of triangles congruent by the HL theorem? So here's the deal. I need to write in a mathematical way what additional information I need. I can't just say, oh, I need tick marks. Oh, I need a right angle marking. I have to write it in a precise mathematical way. We need to be able to communicate correctly mathematically. So look at this one. What you don't need to write is something that you already have. We already have a shared side. GO, G-O, or OG, is a shared side. The reflexive property already allows us to add tick marks there. So we don't list that. That's not one of the things we list. But you know what? We don't have enough information. We cannot prove number 5 congruent by HL yet. So what are we missing? So no, Saketh, we're not going to write that we need congruent marks on the hypotenuse because we already have that. That was already given to us. What we don't have is right here. So when you write your answer, you don't say, I need a box on angle M or something like that. Like I said, you need to write it mathematically correct. Let me show you 2 different ways you could write it. The measure of angle M equals 90. We need this. Or you could say we need angle M to be a right angle. So that's 2 different ways to communicate what additional information you need. Okay? Let's look at number 6. We have a right angle check. We have a leg check. We do not have congruent hypotenuses. So we need our hypotenuses to be congruent. So we need to name the hypotenuses. You can't just say, what do we need? We need tick marks on AC. That's not how you say it mathematically. we need AC to be congruent to DF. We need segment AC to be congruent to, I'm going to name it in the right order, segment FD. This would have been the only correct answer. Can you write it backwards? Sure. But can you say we need those sides to match? No. You need to say that the segments are congruent. That's the additional information. Okay, now we're just doing like literally just practice, practice, practice. We're just going to fly through these and then you can try your worksheet. Okay? Shared side. All right, are they congruent? I'm going to pause each time to give you some time. Oh, no. The angle is not between the sides. That's a big deal. The angle is not between the sides, and so these are not possible to prove congruent. When it spells a bad word, when the A is not between the S's, you stop right there, not possible. All right. Ooh, now we're getting weird. So this isn't the best drawn picture I've ever seen, but what those dotted arrows mean is that they couldn't put a tick mark on that side because it was overlapping the other side, and so it just means that this pink side is congruent to this pink side, okay? That's what those dotted line arrows with the tick marks on them mean. Okay, and then they gave us this as well. Arc, arc. Can we add anything to our picture? Can we add anything to our picture? We've never had this before. We've had shared side like crazy, reflexive property. But we've never had a shared angle. Look at these two triangles. They are sharing this angle. That's so nice of them to share that angle. My daughters need a lesson from those really sweet triangles sharing that angle. So no, I'm not going to, okay, someone said vertical angles. Those are not really the triangles I was thinking of proving congruent. So the triangles I was thinking of, let me get my handy dandy highlighter out. These are the triangles I was going to discuss. Those yellow triangles, not these little bitty triangles that you were talking about, vertical angles. Those two triangles right there. Okay? So when it gets really messy like this, you can just pull one of the triangles out. You can just say, okay, what in the world, what information do I have? Well, I've got this tick mark, I've got this arc, and then I've got another arc. And now I can really see much easier that this is angle, angle, side. If this were to go right there, you see what I'm saying? Sometimes when the pictures get too messy, you can pull one of the triangles out and just say, what markings do I really have here? So it ended up being angle, angle, side. Two angles and one side. All right, we've got some more overlapping triangles. Can we add anything to our picture? Got like some arcs there. You see a shared side. It's not where they're normally sharing it, but there's a shared side right there. So once again, it's really hard for me to see what's going on. So I can just redraw that triangle out here. Okay, what all do I have? Well, I have a tick mark. Oh, look right here. I have an arc. And then in this larger angle, I've got a double arc. And so I can see much better now that it's angle, side, angle. Cool? Shared side there. Ooh, and we're done. That was enough practice. The rest of the time, work on that homework worksheet. Tomorrow at Cy Falls, we have the Aspire test. So if you're a 10th grader at Cy Falls, they're all taking the Aspire test. And I'll teach you guys as normal, but I'll be a few minutes late to class because I'll be proctoring. Our first quiz is Wednesday. So we have a congruent triangles quiz Wednesday, a congruent triangles quiz Thursday. So have those. If you understand the homeworks, you're ready for the quizzes.